I think Team LICKR have done really well this split. They know how to end the games.
Flash in from Quas, finds Inox, takes him down onto Honor. Team Liquid in a dominating fashion.
Bjergsen's the only one that's consistently beating his lane opponent. No single player has as much pressure on them. Bjergsen makes one mistake, they instantly lose the game.
But here comes Bjergsen. Wow! Bjergsen evaporates. Wild Turtle respawns, but that's going to be the game.
So I think the other players need to step up.
We have to adapt. It's not going to be easy.
I think we're playing at a good level and they're underperforming. I think that we can beat them if we play well. I definitely think that's going to be our toughest opponent throughout the whole split.
Hello and welcome to Week 4 of the North American League Championship Series Summer Split. We've got a packed house here in Los Angeles, and the fans, as you can see, are plenty fired up for another day of action here inside the studios. Just a moment ago, though, they were lined up and showing just as much hype and support for their favorite teams outside. Tip, as you see, arriving here at the studio, giving a big wave to the crowd. Impact following suit. They'll be facing off against Team Dignitas, and here's Kiwi Kid heading inside, cheerful as always. There's going to be a big matchup in the mid lane, though. Shifter getting in a quick cheap shot here on Xiao Zhao before the game even starts. Xiao Zhao escaping, which is 10 HP, but he'll get his chance for revenge in just a bit. Now, hello everyone, I'm James Dash Patterson. We've got a special lineup here on the analyst desk, starting with our resident ne'er-do-well, Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler. And joining us to preview our game of the week, we have the coaches of Team Liquid and TSM, Peter and Loco Doco. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. We'll talk to these guys in just a second, but first, let's take a quick look at how the teams are stacked up. In first place, we have CLG and Team Liquid. Gravity, Team Dignitas, and TSM are one game back in third. Tip is in sixth place with an even 3 wins and 3 losses. Cloud9 and Enemy Esports are sharing seventh, followed by Team8 and TDK. Now turning to today's schedule, we've got Team Dignitas starting our day as they face off against Team Impulse. After that, TDK will challenge frontrunner CLG. A little bit later, Gravity will battle Team8, and we'll wrap up the day with Enemy Esports against Cloud9. Now sitting at the middle of our schedule is the game of the week. 2 of our heavyweight contenders for the top spot will battle it out with Team Liquid versus TSM. And as we mentioned, we've got the coaches of each team here to give us some insight into this match. So gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining me. I'm going to jump right into it, coming to you first, Peter. I got to talk to you last week about the improvements that your team has made and what it's going to take to continue this winning record for you guys. So what have you done specifically in this past week in preparation for this big game against TSM?
So basically, in my opinion, TSM is a really mid-focused team. They will pressure mid a lot with Last Boy, with Centauran. They love to gank mid. So first of all, I'm gonna definitely do a good version for the mid side to protect my Phoenix. I don't want my Phoenix just got ripped by the random gank from like any other way.
From the whole team.
Yeah,
yeah, really, anyone could show up in the mid lane there. Now over to you, Loco. In some regard, TSM has had some stumbles so far this split. A couple losses that were not necessarily expected. What have you done in this past week to shore up the weaknesses going up against this 5-1 Team Liquid squad?
So most of our faults have been around mid-game, what we do with our lead, and not being clean and ending the game, and our rotations. So we've really focused on our mid-game this week. Our analysts had multiple presentations, and we did a lot of drills in what we do with our lead. So we shored that up.
It's actually a pretty interesting point that you bring, because I was just watching the show that you guys have out on YouTube, and one thing that you guys were talking about was that the coaching staff want more control over what the players are going to have in their practice time and what champions they use, and what you're preparing for the games. For a team that's so focused on the international play, do you think that, is there any chance that you guys will be held back as far as innovation? Because if you are just looking at what other teams are doing, then you won't have things like, Power of Evil bringing out mid lane Varus first for you guys when you do go to international events.
So we have very talented players, and they know their matchups really well, and they have some innovative ideas. So what we'll do is at the start of the week, we'll talk to them, and they'll tell us what champions they want to try versus, and I'll also have champions that I want to do and I want to put more practice into. So it's not just doing whatever the coaching staff says. At the beginning of the week, we take in player opinions, and throughout the week, we still take them in. Just during practice, there's no argument about what picks we're going to do. I have the final say.
So no back talk, but they still get their chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, both of you have been very outspoken about the infrastructure behind your organizations and the improvement in the coaching staff. Kind of along this line of champion pools, we've seen Echo introduced. We've seen big changes to Caitlyn, Jace, and Shen recently. Now, from a coach's perspective, how do you approach whether or not a champion should enter into one of your players' pool or into team strategy?
So basically for us is we're gonna be talking with the players, and the players usually can come to me and like, oh Peter, this patch, this champion got buffed, and like I think this champion got buffed. He's probably gonna be very well in the competitive scene. So we're gonna let him play in the solo queue first to tell me, all right, so in the solo queue you're gonna lane against a different opponent. You can tell me, all right, maybe it's good against this champion. So when we're doing the scrim and we're thinking this champion will fit our team comp, then we're gonna use it. If it used well, then we're gonna play in the LCS.
Then, Loco, I'm going to slightly alter the question for you because you've talked about how the coaching staff is going to establish the champion pool that you work with. How would a player then come to you and change your mind about whether or not a champion should be added to that pool?
So anytime during the week, they can come up to me and they'll say, oh, I think Teemo's really good because of this and this and this. And then we'll have a discussion about Teemo, and then we'll design a team comp around it. And we'll play it once or maybe twice, depending on how well the game went. And then we'll make a final judgment call and then say, okay, we're going to start playing it more the day after, and then we'll make a call on it. Or if it's too late in the week, we'll say, okay, we'll learn to play around this champion, but we'll try more next week.
All right. Well, moving away from analyzing champions to analyzing teams, there's so much talk about TSM, their strengths, and the mid lane and all that. Peter, I want to ask you a different question though. When looking at TSM, what do you think is their biggest weakness?
I think most of the people are gonna say Dyrus, but I feel Dyrus is a very good player. I just tell you guys a little bit about one sentence in my scout report. We were talking, Dyrus is a player hard to gank, but easy to dive.
Okay.
I think their weakness is probably Santorin's point, because lots of the other players, they don't like to gank a lot. But like I said last week, I think Dom is one of the best jungler in the North America. If we can get the confident champion ourselves, I think Dom can just win the jungler.
Oh yeah, in his AMA, I think he did say that he considered himself to be the best jungler in North America. Loco Doco, what do you think about the jungle matchup?
I think Santorin's a really underrated player. In scrims, he does great. When Santorin first came into the scene, it was into like the really public eye. It was during IEM San Jose, and he didn't have a really good showing there. So his legacy started out really low. But I think a lot of people overlook how well Santorin played during the spring split, how well he played at IEM Katowice. And if you ask the junglers in NA that scrim with us a lot, they'll only have good things to say about Santorin. So I don't think Dom's going to beat Santorin at all. I think Santorin will really show up.
Well, it's definitely going to be an exciting matchup. I do want to move to another player, which would be Piglet. Peter, last time this split, about this same time, a few weeks in, there was a lot of disharmony around Piglet and how he meshed with the team. A few months later, everything seems to be running very smoothly. So what do you attribute his assimilation into the team mostly to?
Well, first, when Piglet comes to team, the language barrier is really a big issue for our team, because Piglet almost didn't know any English that time. Like, we need to teach him, use our NS to teach him English one by one, like knowing the words, like red buff, blue buff, like what do we want to do in the game, back out, or should go in stuff. And as long as he played more solo queue in North America, and he learned more English from solo queue, that he knowing how to communicate with the team, to use the pings or just say some simple words. So now he can actually do a very simple communicate with Dom, with X Special, so they have more synergy from that.
All right, lastly, I want to follow up with, there's been a lot of criticisms towards the North American region for not being as strong as it used to be, mostly attributed to the fact that C9 has fallen from grace a little bit, TSM has found some stumbles. I want to get your guys' perspective, just as coaches, as to where you feel the North American region rests in relation to the rest of the world.
So last split, a lot of people had negative things to say about EU, how it looked really shaky. And I honestly don't think you can judge scenes that well until you put them against each other. So maybe NA is the farthest behind, but we're so much far away from Worlds. We have a lot of space to improve. And I think our teams are doing fine. I think Team Liquid is doing fine. I think TSM we're doing fine, and it's regular season, so CLG is doing fine. Gravity also showed up.
The caveat.
I love that. That's great.
And C9, even though they're not doing that well, like they always show up when it matters. So I mean, right now NA does look pretty murky, and we don't look that great. But I don't think it even matters. Like who cares? We're 4 months away from Worlds, 3 months away from Worlds. Like we're so far away. So right now, maybe we're the weakest, but I don't think it really matters in the overall scope of things.
All right, well, great to hear, gentlemen. Once again, I want to thank you for joining us here on the desk. Wish both of your teams the best of luck in your game later today. Now, sticking to the subject of coaches, we want to ask all of you at home which coach in the NA LCS has the toughest job and why. Send your bite-sized 140-character responses to @LOLEsports and use the hashtag LCS. Then stay tuned to see if we read your tweet a little later in the broadcast. But now we're going to send things over to our dynamic casting duo to get us into the action.
Hey, thank you very much, Dash. What's up, everybody? I am here on the casting desk alongside Joshua Jat Leisman. I am David Freak Turley. We are ready to get some games cast.
Yeah, these are going to be some good games today. I like how the matchups are always kind of a team that's on a surge this split versus a team that's been more traditionally powerful.
That's
a lot
true.
of good matchups.
Exactly, and this is actually a really good matchup for that right here today. We're kicking off our day with Team Dignitas versus Team Impulse. Battle of new versus old in a way. So far this split, we've been seeing some dominating performances by Impulse. They're trying to distinguish themselves once again among the top teams.
Right, and a lot of Team Impulse's success is built around raw aggression, but we're still kind of waiting to see that next level of strategies beyond just everybody going in at once. And the team, it's still working on communication issues and shot calling, which they kind of thought they'd have more solved by now. So hopefully we'll start to see more coordinated team play from Team Impulse like we saw near the end of last spring split.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, Team Dignitas, though, they're in a state of transition. You're talking about coordinated play here. They've got a new jungler, Helios, in the mix. And honestly, the results are hit and miss here. They took down Team Solo Mid, good for them, but then they were soundly beaten by Gravity, so they lost their hold on first place because of that.
Yeah, and just thinking about that swap a bit more, Azingi, when he was with Dignitas this split, had a big presence in the early game, especially on Zac, and he got a lot of early kills for the team. His ganks had been successful. But we haven't actually seen the same level of pressure coming from Helios. Azingi, in his 4 games, was 5, 1, and 5 for kills, deaths, and assists in the first 15 minutes of his 4 games, whereas last week, Helios was 1 kill, 2 deaths, 0 assists in 15 minutes across both games, which is not much action early game. That will need to pick up. But Dignitas itself, they've proven to be a resilient team. And they've kind of consistently fallen behind in gold at 10 and 20 minutes, but then they're able to capitalize on their opponent's mistakes, and that's why they pulled out these victories to be 4-2. So they don't look nearly as impressive as some of the other teams in the early game, but the record still shows well.
Yeah, exactly. They're 18 and 33, and yet that was a 1-1 scoreline throughout the week. So you can see these guys are able to pull out wins pretty frequently here. Either way, let's check out the starting lineups. And on the blue side is Team Dignitas. Gamsu in the top lane. Helios, happy birthday in the jungle. Shifter in mid. Core JJ, also happy birthday at 80 carry. And Kiwi Kid on support.
Yes, happy birthday to Helios. On the red side, of course, it is Team Impulse. Fits their colors pretty well. Impact in the top lane. Rush in the jungle. Showy Shao in mid lane. Apollo in 80 carry. And, of course, Adrian on support.
So with all 10 players in the lobby and champ select about to begin, again, it is a battle of Team Dignitas, who have just impressed everyone with how well they'd actually been showing up so far. 4-2, much better than you would expect. This is a team that narrowly avoided relegation.
If not for a Kiwi Kid 5-man Alistair.
Yeah,
it was game 5 in their promotion tournament game.
Exactly. So a miracle when Dignitas kept them in the LCS, and now they're tied for 3rd with Team Solo Mid. Like, what an amazing quick turnaround for these guys. And you hope that trend continues upward with Helios in the mix here.
There's definitely a lot of things trending in the right direction for Team Dignitas. I mean, their coach Rico came in very late into the spring split. It's taken some time for the players to get comfortable. They feel much more comfortable now with Helios on jungle as well. Kind of a long-term solution to the role, whereas it felt like Azingi was a bit of a stopgap solution. So definitely some opportunity for some big-time growth, and it will show true if they continue to notch wins against traditionally top teams in the LCS.
Absolutely true. Dignitas with a full week to practice up with this lineup for sure. Team Impulse, again, you talked about them looking a bit shaky here, figuring out what else they would actually grow as. Rumble, Nidalee so far banned away from Impulse. The Sivir dropped away from Apollo. No big surprise there. I'm glad teams after about 5 games in a row have realized that's probably a champion you should remove from him.
Yeah. No rise for Gamsu. Be interesting to see if we see an Echo ban. It's something that TIP banned against or had banned against them when they were playing Team Liquid. It might be something that Xiao wants to get his hands on. He likes those assassin-type champions in the mid lane, so it's left out of the ban phase. But so is Alistar.
This is interesting, yeah. So Alistar being left through as the easy first pick, it does mean Impulse have slightly pinched the aggro junglers. The Gragas ban, Rek'Sai is up. It's actually all Helios has played so far. And so Rush being able to steal it away might be useful here. You mentioned Echo as well. I mean, those, in my mind, would be the first two that I pick here as Team Impulse. We are on 5-11 this time around, so slight changes to Echo. His, I believe, mana cost on W went up.
Yep. Very minor changes. Some visibility things on his spells as well. But these two picks do seem like the most logical choices. The Echo and the Rek'Sai, both some early pressure for Rush. They have been banning away Rek'Sai, so Rush can play Lee Sin in some of their games. But with Rek'Sai up, it doesn't leave much opportunity for Rush to play the Lee Sin.
Yeah. You should consider. Exactly. Removing a Kalista from Core JJ, removing the Ryze, which many teams would be happy to first pick. We did see Ryze go through unpicked a couple times in the EU LCS. A couple days ago, I believe there were 2 unseen and champ select Ryze games. Right. So maybe that champion becoming less valuable for certain teams. Either way, though, Impulse do pick up the Echo and the Rek'Sai, and we'll have to see where the Echo actually goes.
Right. We've seen Huni play it to much success in the top lane. He's been the main person that's actually found success with top lane Echo. Most people have either been jungle tank or mid lane assassin. This one is, in my opinion, going to go mid lane assassin.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it fits Xiao's style. I tend to agree with you here on this one, Jap. But meanwhile, Team Dignitas happy to grab as many champions as they can really quickly, actually. Very little hesitation on the blue side here. The top lane Hecarim is in. He had small changes in 5-11 as well. Seems to still be fine. Meanwhile, the core key for Core JJ.
Yeah. To talk about the Hecarim changes a little bit, the main impact it'll have on the competitive scene is just when he home guard teleports in, he won't be quite as fast or do quite as much damage when he connects with you. So it's a nerfed aspect in one of the most powerful parts of his kit, but the rest of Hecarim will still be that horse.
Exactly, and him chasing down onto squishies is still going to be a very good thing for him and the rest of his team. Dignitas so far not showing their jungler or mid lane most likely. Team Impulse now to round out most of their lineup here. Looks like they're going to continue to have that Echo be a flex pick, though they know the enemy top laner. They're going to leave the final pick for last. So Janna Graves the bot lane here for Impulse. A bit of a throwback here. Apollo played a ton of that in spring.
Yep, it's good follow-up damage or front-loaded damage when everyone else is going in. The collateral damage from Graves still able to contribute to a fight, even if he's late to the fight, which does end up happening for Team Impulse with the style they play.
Ooh.
The Kalista they played last week, of course, since it's banned. Whoa!
Oh! So Helios doesn't get his Rek'Sai, so he plays Xin Zhao instead, most likely in the jungle. Twisted Fate in for Shifter as well. I mean, the gank pressure here is stupid good. There's so much crowd control here on this Team Dignitas lineup.
Yeah, this is the first Xin Zhao we've seen in the NA LCS, I'd say, in probably about a year, maybe longer. I'm excited for this. So I wonder if Helios is going to be going Cinderhulk into Black Cleaver, because those seem like the 2 big-time items on Xin Zhao, and we thought maybe he would see a resurgence when the Black Cleaver shipped as a new item. It just synergizes so well with the armor penetration on his kit, the cooldown reduction, chain knockups, chain slow, and actually a little bit of viability in the late game, which was previously a big weakness of Xin Zhao, who does have early game pressure. It'll be very fun to watch Helios versus Rush in the early game, as that is actually kind of a strength of Xin Zhao against Rek'Sai. That's a fascinating matchup now. Wouldn't this be something? Varus mid, Echo top, Graves 80 carry.
That's going to be the likely situation, yeah.
So a double AD, but they're keeping the enemy honest because of assassination threat in the top lane. This is my favorite version of double AD, is instead of having a tank top lane or something, you have legitimate kill threat on an ability power champion like the Echo, which forces people into that magic resist itemization. So a well-crafted team comp, I think, from Team Impulse. We'll have to see how the wave clear and the lack of a true tank pay into that. But if they snowball ahead, as they often like to do, that's when that type of team composition can work.
All right, so the Team Impulse snowball could be very interesting. Of course, keep in mind, Team Dignitas still have 4 different champions who are good at hard engage, with the Alistar, the Hecarim, the Twisted Fate, the Xin Zhao, and even Corki can help at least. So scary things afoot, but Team Impulse happy to pick right into that with a bunch of backline squishies. kind of a tank with Rush playing Rek'Sai here. And we're going to start out week 4 of the North American LCS with Team Dignitas sitting at 4-2, with Team Impulse sitting at 3-3. Coach handshakes come out.
Yeah, and I love these coach handshakes right here because these, to me, feel like more unique team compositions than we've seen in a while in the North American LCS. Things have felt relatively stagnated, but these ones feel pretty unique.
And it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Either way, head over to Twitter and share your thoughts on this match. Tweet at LOL Esports with either hashtag DIGwin or hashtag TIPwin. We'll count up your votes in just a few minutes, guys. Getting ourselves into the match here. 4-2 versus 3-3. The ability to challenge the very top of the standings for both of these teams.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great game. Like, just the Twisted Fate combined with the Xin Zhao jungle, not to mention the Echo top lane from Impact, who, even though he feels like a consistent top laner, many of the people who play against him say he takes a lot of early game risks going against another top laner who doesn't even have a flash. I mean, there is a lot of opportunity for some early fireworks in this one.
Well, fireworks we're going to have almost certainly. If only he played the Festive Corki skin. Did even use them on his abilities. Sadly, it's not. That's okay. We can watch the early invade paths.
But we'll have to settle for
the support spot each other.
Skin.
I know. Unfortunately, Ice Toboggan, which basically no one has. Gamsu. You know, Jinx can actually kill a ward by herself by just sitting there with her Q on.
If you're in minigun form.
Yeah. But you start that way, so you just got to learn it. Fortunately, Gamsu not enough attack speed to clear that one away. Smite Ignite versus, sorry, not Smite Ignite. Ignite TP versus Flash TP, as you mentioned before, the top lane matchups. Impulse will be looking at standard lanes here with Impact unleashing for Rush. Looks like the similar situation for Team Dignitas, though their jungler will be starting on the bottom side with Gamsu at Razor Beaks.
Yeah, and there will be a little bit of an... I always like tracking the jungler arms races right here, especially for two junglers that shouldn't need to match an early game pressure. This is also interesting in the fact that Rush has kind of been the king of early game aggression when it's successful, but oftentimes that backfires. Helios as well has played a much more subdued early game jungle role, as we noticed, only having 1 kill or assist combined in the 2 games within the first 15 minutes of his matches. But now in Xin Zhao, you can't really imagine a successful Xin Zhao game that doesn't get a kill or assist before 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'd expect much more aggression from Helios. Hyped up CSing right now.
Cards flying everywhere, corrupted arrows killing minions. I don't know if people are cheering for the death of these poor helpless minions. They're just following orders, guys.
Picking up right where they left off in the hallway right here. The little tiny shots that really have no real effect.
Okay, so the jungle starts were in fact the Gamsu took Wolves, Impact took Razor Beaks. They TP into their lanes. Flask on one side, Doran's Ring and Potion on the other. Rush will be able to safely clear 2 camps by himself. And then Heals, makes his way over to the other side.
So Helios got help with the Krugs to keep himself healthy early on in the jungle. Therefore, he's much higher health than Rush is right now. Rush is tracking through his jungle low. This is an early ghost because they're going before Impulse has their wards, and they're trying to catch them in a power spike here. Let's go.
They get him before 3 minutes, the stun into Apollo, but he's able to dash away and use Flash and stay alive.
Oh.
Goes for Flash and a lot of time lost in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is the time investment more than anything else. Yes, they got the Flash out of Apollo. Now the minions are doing a little scouting job for them on the way back. Rush's blue buff is safe. Everything about that actually puts Team Dignitas in the hole right now, and they're missing the CS anyways.
Oh man, Kiwi Kid's not going to get anything here. 4JJ forced a Valkyrie out from some damage. You saw on the backside of this one, so yeah. I don't know about that move. It's a cute idea. You talked about Xin Zhao, great early pressure, but that's one of the safer lanes you could ever possibly gank.
Yeah, I mean, and one Howling Gale from Adrian completely shuts that gank down. Basically, Kiwi Kid, if they want that gank to be successful, needed to be the one to start it. He would have needed to flash pulverize Apollo, hit him back to make a flash and inescapable gank. The theory of sending TF Xin Zhao into an Alistar lane for a gank is sound, but the execution failed.
No, unfortunate there. Helios still, without grabbing his blue buff, is walking to the top lane already. Impact fighting Gamsu and getting good early damage. So far, this lane looks very good for the Echo player. Helios coming in to upset that, but they can't just dive the turret here, I don't think.
Yeah, Helios definitely trying to force some early ganks, but I question the positioning of these ganks. They are going to try and bait this one in a little bit because Impact had been aggressive in the lane in the past. He's not necessarily going to expect a top lane gank after a bottom lane gank just failed. Helios taking a big gamble here. This almost needs to pay off in a kill.
And Rek'Sai is not close at all, so when is the push going to come in towards Impact? He's basically on top of him.
He's hoping that he uses his E in, and then Helios is trying to jump on him, because if he jumps on him now, an E backwards and a flash will mean immediate safety. They need Impact to engage first before Helios goes in.
Maybe for the cannon minion. Gamsu already going for the trade. Q gets popped, a lot of damage dealt, but Impact has movement speed buffs. It's going to be the easiest dash away ever.
Notice the safe way Impact was trading as well. He kept his phase dive, the Echo E, the entire time, never using that for the damage and instead saving it for an escape.
Meanwhile, this one, Shifter forces to save his flash for an escape, doesn't have the tools to get away as cleanly. And the early gank pressure, actually, I would say, much more efficient for Rush here. A lot of time wasted by Helios, still on level 3, 10 CS. We've already had Rush back and buy items and just farm more.
Yeah, it's the typical way to punish an overzealous jungle whose ganks don't work out early. Spends a lot of time in lanes. All you have to do once you know the opponent fails a gank, if you weren't planning a gank of your own, know where he is on the map, go take the jungle that he was going to take afterwards, and you almost guarantee yourself a near 1 level advantage and significant gold edge. That's actually not just been 1 gank that Rush has been able to punish, but now 2. So it's just checking the gold really quick. 400 already, which is basically the value of a first blood.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely amazing. Impulse sitting 1,000 gold ahead from just farm. Mid lane is winning, top lane is winning, bottom lane is winning. You talked about the junglers as well, so massive early game lead for Impulse just from individual skill, mechanics, and decision making. Not even the team fights yet.
Well, surprisingly, it's because Impulse has been playing the lanes defensively.
Yeah.
They've been respecting the ganks of the Xin Zhao, and Helios has been going for the ganks that were somewhat anticipated. Impulse has been always saving all of their dash abilities to escape ganks. They're just farming safely, and almost all of their CS advantages can be somewhat attributed to that, outside of this bottom lane where they're just kind of straight up winning. Mid lane is because Shifter went down early. The top lane gank, Gamsu was trying to prep the gank a little bit, baiting in for impact, but then when the gank was escaped, paid the price of the bait. And that's the things that are resulting in this 1,000 gold differential.
Absolutely. So Impulse just sitting pretty with the laning phase staying as it is. Of course, with matched up lanes, we don't often see any kind of aggression that's not just a jungle gank in the early game. It's hard to force dragons and whatnot without a really good fight. Apollo getting poked around quite low. Kiwi Kid and Core JJ still able to find some kinds of battles, and there's not a lot of sustain on the other side. So maybe they can whittle stuff down. Xiao Xiao doesn't want to stay to kill the pink ward. He will back himself right out of the jungle. A minor invade attempt to get some wards on the bottom jungle. We'll give them some tracking of Helios. They'll have to respect the Xin Zhao a little bit less. They know he's bot side. It gives room for Impact to fight if he wants to. You can see how much respect Gamsu has to give him. The big minion wave, you can't trade against that.
Yeah, I'm really curious as well how many times Impact has even used his phase dive this game, because it feels like he's just poking safely with his 3 auto attack speed boost and that Echo Q throwing out again and again, staying safe yet aggressive in the lane. I also need to point out the itemization choices he's forcing Gamsu into. He's gone Smite Teleport, but he needs to respect the aggression of the AP damage dealer, so he's had to go early No Magic Mantle. Probably just going to upgrade to Merc Treads right away and get home guards, but it's going to be so long until Gamsu has any type of armor itemization, which will be necessary if they ever get trapped in a siege situation against the Graves, Varus, and Rek'Sai.
Yeah, you talked about you like having an AP top laner, someone to make you respect the itemization choices, and so, yeah, Gamsu being squishy, if you dive into the back line and die right away, doesn't mean too much. So definitely a risk for Gamsu. There's the phase dive use. He thinks he can win the trade here. Of course, they knew Xin Zhao's on the other side here. The W's prime. They will not get the stun, though. Gamsu able to track away from that. But still, winning trade after winning trade for Impact.
Yeah, and just looking at the itemization choices on Team Dignitas, Home Guard cooldown boots are ready onto Shifter. So the actual combat effectiveness, especially if Gamsu gets Merc Treads Home Guards, double Home Guards this early into the game, means their actual team fighting, if they get caught in a 5v5, is super weak. But Team Dignitas is just looking to pick fights where they have a numbers advantage. That's the only way they win.
Wow, Rush smites the Wolf to see Helios coming. He's not going to be in range of getting jumped on. TF will not be able to move either as his lane is pushed in, so Rush gets away safely. An aggressive counter jungle without tracking Helios properly, but is not punished, and he gets one of the big camps out.
Yeah, crazy aggressive to do a counter jungle like that against Twisted Fate and a home guard Hecarim.
Yeah.
Like that is almost naked aggression in some senses, but they know they have an advantage, and Rush is just trying to punish that as much as possible.
You're fortunate enough that he wasn't caught out here. Blue buff attempt now going to go through and give the blue to Xiaowei. Xiao, this team now up 1,200 gold from the laning phase. This number keeps on growing as Impulse are just winning by outskilling their opponents. This was kind of the mantra we expected when we saw Impulse's lineup announced for spring 2015. It was like, yeah, look, we've got former world champions, we have the Summer Split MVP, we've got this, up-and-coming bot lane who've actually improved really heavily since we last saw them, and what else could you expect with this hyped up individually skilled team? And Impulse kind of winning the way.
Xiao with
they were hyped too.
Finally, Xiao-like farm as well. Nearly 100 CS at 10 minutes.
Yep.
He has been falling off lately. This split hasn't looked very impressive. But once again, Shifter granted him an advantage on a silver platter early on in the lane phase. Again, Xin Xiao gank, attempt number 2.
Oh, the dodge, though, doesn't get fear. The ult from Impact is enough to get away from Gamsu's fear. And another Helios gank will be turned away, doing nothing. Level 6 on this Xin Xiao. Just hit 7. Pushed away into the turret, but nothing else to be gained.
Yeah, Impact. Really solid top lane echo play against the Hecarim, having to withstand a couple of ganks now from Helios. Rush we still haven't seen necessarily with the gank. Unrush-like, but again, just kind of playing the hand that was dealt to him in this matchup. Knowing that they have to be a little bit conservative because of the collapsing potential of the Twisted Fate and the teleporting Hecarim. But yeah, here we go. We know they just invested in a gank, so Impulse is just bullying their way in here. This is a collapse, though. This is a very real collapse.
Nice cleanse by Xiao to get away from the gold card, and it will just be a lost summoner spell. Shifter pops ulti. In comes Gamsu. They want Xiao. Another stun lands. The cards are there, and the first blood comes through to the top lane. Hecarim. Rush and Impact are around, but not really able to do much. Kiwikid's already made his way up the map as well. It's a 2v1 bot lane. Shifter, though, Flash Ghost lands a stun in. Helios getting very low on health. Pulverize the nice flash away, keeps some safe. Rush with the knockup to buy a little bit more time. Gamsu is here. Tries to get a bit of a knockback, but Rush still able to retreat. Kiwikid, of course, has the ulti on Alistar. Goes for Impact. Big stun's gonna land. Ignite is on, and Kiwikid just doesn't take any damage here. There's the finish dive. 2 more kills in, and Dignitas pick up 3 kills.
This is a resilient team, Dignitas. We keep seeing they make misplays in the early game, but then they wait and they're able to punish opponent misplays. We knew the only way Team Dignitas was winning a fight is if they had a numbers advantage. And lo and behold, Team Impulse makes a weak invade. 2 people without lane presence in the top lane, so they're asking to be collapsed upon. Kiwikid also makes the roam. Team Dignitas peaks up 3 kills, and suddenly they're back in contention in this match.
Man, the top lane matchup had started out pretty rough. You mentioned Gamsu having to sort of hurt his itemization, but 2 kills and assists picked up for him. He's now really scary in this top lane here. And the over-aggression, as you said, from Team Impulse getting punished pretty heavily. We're now still at a gold lead for Impulse thanks to the turret kill they got, thanks to all the zoning they got on the Corki, but power concentrated on the top laner of Dignitas.
And we kind of saw the beginning of some over-aggression from Rush earlier on in the match when he counter-jungled the Wolves earlier without sight of pretty much anyone. He's like, okay, I guess I can get away with this. Tries to reach into the cookie jar once again. This time his hand gets slapped away. 3 kills for Team Dignitas. And now Rush has to be legitimately careful about where he tracks.
Well, as far as body part metaphors, getting a hand slapped is maybe a light punishment for 3 kills, but either way, Impact again being camped up by Helios. Still in the brush up there, and of course the lane is going to be frozen in front of Gamsu's turret as well, so there is very little the former world champion can do in this top lane except get killed if he tries to push on in, but of course the rest of Impulse happy to rotate around to the mid lane, but to give enough respect to Shifter to not push for the turret.
Yeah, and now we need to continue to think about the team fight and the sieging opportunities. So Team Impulse actually does want to just group up in the mid lane, continue to poke down with Xiao, eventually chip down that turret, because Shifter doesn't actually have the ability power, I don't think, to clear the waves with the 1 shot yet from his wildcards. So Impulse needs to control this, because still, in a 5v5 team fight, Infinity Edge onto Apollo, Man Immunity onto Xiao, they have the potential power spike to make a big play. But they run the risk of a numbers advantage. Team Dignitas wants the numbers advantage. They have Twisted Fate to collapse in. They actually have a teleport advantage here as well, and could very well try and contest this if they decide to go for it. It's getting low pretty fast though.
Yeah, Impulse respecting the TP disadvantage have pulled their top laner to walk down the map. He's at mid by the time Dragon goes down, and there was no engage coming in from Team Dignitas, unwilling to dive into that. And Impulse still sitting on a 600 gold lead, get the first Dragon of the game.
Yeah, the numbers advantage wasn't guaranteed because of that roam down from Impact. He would have been able to match by the time Gamsu goes down there, and instead it's just actually a turret for Dragon Trade, which Team Dignitas is more than happy to take. Equalizing the turrets at first Dragon is actually not that important in the overall scheme of things.
Absolutely, so Dignitas making the right choice to realize, you know what, we don't need to contest Dragon. Impact has to run down, so if he does, top lane turret gets killed. That in fact does happen, and Gamsu makes the gold back to tied here. Dignitas finally equalizing turret scores, but the 3 kills to 0 only just breaks even with all the farm that TIP has been getting, so the scoreboard up there slightly lies to you in terms of the power of all the champions on the map.
Yeah, and I do kind of want to touch on the first Dragon. It is actually a very sometimes good indicator of winning, but overall, the percentage wins from first Dragon actually aren't that high, and the power only kicks in later. So as long as Team Dignitas can get a Dragon later, they'd be okay. Nice ultimate though.
Max range lands, even the Javelin, everything hits. The Howling Gale, the piercing arrow, down goes Helios. I didn't think he was going to die there, but he certainly did.
Yeah, that was just Xiao getting a little aggressive and some poor communication overall by Team Dignitas. If they didn't have the members to defend that turret, then Helios should not have been standing there when it fell.
No, unfortunate misstep for the new Dignitas jungler. And this time around, actually, the rest of Team Impulse are here. Top lane, Gamsu's not used to this. In goes Impact, can't quite land the slow. Brush shows himself for not much, and followed his Reek, also sitting in the brush, not revealing where he was on the map. It looks like these teams will be able to reset and restructure themselves around the map.
Yeah, both junglers going with Sightstone as well, so there should be a lot of vision to go around. Vision is at a pretty big priority this match, since Team Dignitas is completely about the pick-focused gameplay. That's all of their hard CC initially going in, and then the attempt to just wave clear and stall with the Twisted Fate and the Corki. So a lot of stalling opportunities for Team Dignitas, but mainly it's going to be out vision control, numbers advantages, and picks.
All right, vision control, numbers advantages, and picks. Let's look at the wards then right now. Looking over, there are literally 0 deep wards for Team Dignitas.
Not that many.
Not really any for Impulse either. There's a couple that like barely scratch past the river, but nothing to really track movement. So any dive you go for, any gank, you don't know if it's getting counter-ganked or not in most situations.
Which is really surprising when you have double Sightstone. But yeah, neither team has been able to create the threat necessary to actually go in and get deep wards. It normally takes one team becoming aggressive in order to sneak in the other side, but instead just a strong 4-man rotation by Impulse to take a turret.
Nicely done by them.
See how this we have to see how this is matched now.
Well, right now it's matched by 2 guys, wave clearing in the top lane. Hecarim and Helios maybe making their way towards mid as Shifter will not be answered, and they will be able to knock down the mid lane, it looks like. It is an early Lich Bane for Shifter as well, by the way. His second item picked up. A lot of damage on this turret. They're getting collapsed on by Impulse, but I don't think it'll be in time. It's close. If they stay for this, they might just barely get hit.
This could be a team fight. Echo's coming around the flank as well.
Ulti comes in from Hecarim. Ulti down. A lot of damage in on everybody. Damage going back and forth. A lot of CC. Helios very low on health. And wow, the flashes just keep him safe. The dive back in. They do pick up Kiwi Kid. Dignitas loses a member.
Oh.
Chain of Corruption finally ends with 1 kill in the team fight. Team Impulse still in control. Correct myself, Gamsu does have Onslaught of Shadows and Teleport up, and wards to TP2 on the flank. The squishy lineup could potentially get jumped on.
There's a chance the fight's not over yet because all ultimates were burned on Team Impulse, but it would take a very aggressive call by Team Dignitas to go back.
Impact's really low. He got hit by the turret.
That's a far ways away. Let's check out the new home guard Hecarim.
Who's gonna go for it? Goes in!
Whoa!
Impact gets a shield, in comes Shifter, the Rocket gets 1, Gamsu gets a 2nd, he gets a 3rd, and now Adrian and Xiao on the run. They're dodging what damage they can. Oh, a ton of damage comes through, and Shifter picks up the 4th kill of the refight.
Wow, the re-engage, and that's exactly what Team Dignitas was looking for when they go double home guard boots with a teleport Hecarim and a Twisted Fate. It's the re-engage and it's the numbers advantages. Right there, the numbers advantage was all in the health bars because Team Impulse overstayed to take the 2nd turret. They didn't respect Team Dignitas' bounce back ability in this fight since the deaths didn't actually fall down to them, and what a collapse that was. Fearlessness from Gamsu to go back in, and Shifter clearing up the scraps.
And how rich is Gamsu now? 4-0-3, still 100% of coup participation. And this is just all kinds of wonderful.
7,300 gold rich, Freak. And yeah, Gamsu Hecker multi to the whole team. And because everyone was dying, he's barely able to stay alive. Flash red card because Shifter was trying to take 2 with that one. Ends up being able to pull another card to finish off Xiao Xiao. So just the support that gets away. But mainly that was just the way the Hecarim Twisted Fate is supposed to work. If they can disengage the team fights, let the other team overextend, then go in for kills. Adrian, that's another one. The lack of deep wards in this game is creating these opportunities as well.
Well, impressive stuff by Team Dignitas to get themselves back into this one. Impulse, true to the name, over-aggression, not necessarily enough vision, not respecting their opponents, getting punished for it. Team Dignitas all about being resilient. They take their early game deficits again and again, but they find the cracks in the opponent's armor, the mistakes their opponents make, and they capitalize so cleanly. Dignitas, the third place team in the NA LCS right now, looking to take down the third place team from last season's summer split.
Yep.
Good so far.
Yeah, looking at this Dragon, this is what Team Dignitas is hoping to bounce back with. Impact has his teleport up in the top lane. I still feel like Team Impulse could hold an edge in a 5v5, but they're waiting a long time to go for that Dragon.
Rush is not in range for the smite, goes over to Helios, but here comes the dive from Gamsu, who's massive. They pick up Adrian Impulse, limping out of too few members, keeping the flash stun. They knock in Xiao Xiao. Another kill picked up. The Alistair dies as Impact joins the fray. Some damage from Apollo, but Core JJ is on the hunt. Gets a bit of damage. In back goes Impact. He shuts down one. He nearly gets Helios, and they do. 2 more kills on the return. These fights keep going back and forth.
Echo turned back time and changed the tides of that fight. He was so late to the battle as well, which really hurt Team Impulse. First off, I don't know what Adrian was doing going down for that Dragon. It looked like a lack of team coordination from Team Impulse. Team Dignitas doing great to get this Dragon. I mean, Adrian down with Rush, but the rest of his carries that the Janna is supposed to be standing beside are way back. They ended up getting flanked by Alistair, and it looks like a fantastic fight for Team Dignitas, but they did underestimate the power of Echo, and specifically they wanted to chase onto the turret. Look at the clone. Watch the gold clone right here.
Bam.
Boom. Double hit into a double slow, and then able to jump back to the rest of his team. So some overall misplays there by Team Impulse, an overchase by Team Dignitas, and a nice play by Impact at the end. He should have just been there sooner, though.
Well, speaking of overchases, Kiwi Kid not somewhere he needs to be, and another kill goes over to Impact. 2-2-2, finally scaling up on this Echo and saving the mid game for Impulse here.
We might be in for a bit of a crazy game.
Yeah, it's been crazy so far.
Yeah, first 10 minutes go without a kill. The last 12 minutes give us 16 of them. So on that pace, we're going to have about 50 kills in the next 10 minutes.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it. Sure. It's like an exponential function.
Yep.
Okay. Then yeah, I'm going to go 50 kills in 10 minutes.
I don't think that's
your math backs up, chat. Full fighting rewards and everything. It's the day of math.
This is the second time that Impulse has been able to rotate a large force into the top lane. But again, they're kind of punished a little bit by giving up a turret down bottom. The main thing that Team Impulse should hope to gain from this is to get vision control around the Baron buff and force a 5v5 fight. Shifter is Twisted Fate. So instead of face checking, they just need to pop the Twisted Fate ultimate and find Team Impulse. Hey!
Well, not going to happen here. A lot of Shia LaBeouf impersonators in the audience yelling to do it, and Team Impulse
do it!
Will not make their dreams come true just yet here. 23 minutes in. More wave clear for the rest of these guys, and everyone's going to feel safe for a little while longer. Shifter missing his ult is going to give a bit of breathing room for Impulse. It's impressive how few open air picks have come through for Dignitas. Right, with a bunch of teleports and home guards and Destiny and whatnot, you expect, like, when there's 8 dead turrets, like, someone just dies randomly to TF. And Impulse have managed to stay together rather cleanly. They may overstay team fight-wise, but, like, as far as getting picked off, that's not happening really at all.
Yeah. Team Impulse has been grouping very well to avoid the Twisted Fate. A lot of that also has to do with Xiao Xiao consistently shoving in the mid lane, so Shifter's almost always in vision.
True.
So they know when the Twisted Fate is missing. But the kills have continued to fall through for Team Dignitas. It's kind of crazy, you know, 10 kills to 6, but then you look at the CS advantage in the mid lane, the 2-turret lead, still 1,000 gold lead for Team Impulse, and that's taking into account the extra gold that Twisted Fate gets from his passive. So a slightly larger lead than shows on paper.
Yeah, true. Either way, we sit at a 1,500 gold game. Certainly a very close one for a 24-minute match so far. Impulse once again grouping themselves towards the top side of the map. Baron is, of course, up, which helped pull them over. Looks like a blue buff steal is in the works.
Yep.
And that'll go through to Xiao.
Notice again, 5-man group for Team Impulse. So Team Dignitas needs to set up a little bit of split push pressure if they really want to create these pick opportunities, but they do have to respect basically the only initiation that Team Impulse would have here is if Xiao lands a nice chain of corruption. It's one thing that could open up a window for Team Dignitas' split push is the fact that their disengage can actually be quite strong.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit tricky for Impulse to get the right fights.
And with TF scaling up the wave clear, like, sieging is not even the easiest tool either, and waiting 24 minutes for 4 more dragons seems like a pretty arduous process. So, yeah, playmaking, I'm just saying, gotta be difficult for Impulse.
5 dragons not a very realistic win condition in this game because it's taken so long for the dragons to start going down. Baron itself is a dangerous place to bait in this match since the gold is close. Baron makes you low. Also the fact that the team that is leading is not the team with the best vision controlling abilities. Scrying Orb and Twisted Fate very good at checking Baron baits and preventing a big check. I would say that the most likely outcome of this game, as far as who gets the advantage when, would be from flanking opportunities. The deep wards in this game have been fairly lacking because the collapsibility of Team Dignitas is so great, so it's dangerous to go in and get flanks. So either someone gets picked off while trying to ward, or someone gets flanked in a team fight and you see someone, a priority target going down right away, and that then transitions into objectives.
All right, we'll see who that's going to be then to make those flanks and those picks happen. Is it Gamsu, is it Shifter, or is it maybe even Impact on this top lane Echo? Right now the kills have been going back and forth. The sieging a little bit better from Impulse. They are up 2 turrets still in this game, but with only 1,000 gold lead, you're seeing the gold just trade back and forth through the various objectives here. Top lane pushed in by Gamsu. Impact can only mostly sit and watch. He's now actually losing in this matchup, this head-to-head top lane battle. The TP disadvantage is part of it. The earlier kills by Gamsu is great. And now into Impact a little bit on the back foot. It seems Mercfest was enough to keep Gamsu happy in the matchup. You mentioned buying armor. His Frozen Heart is here. Dragon is up, and Dignitas have all roamed themselves down, and they are here first.
So I felt like Team Dignitas was going to try and play a split push game here with Hecarim top lane threatening to teleport into a dragon fight, because straight up in a 5v5 if Team Impulse plays a fight perfectly, I feel like they win. But later into the game without a tank line, maybe that ends up changing. That might be what Team Dignitas is banking on right here, because grouping up like this at the dragon, it looks like Dignitas wants to fight. Gamsu teleporting in with home guard. Flank time.
On the flank, TS there as well. They're going to look right for Impact. The flash in. Adrian's going to get knocked up and destroyed. A bounce house for Team Dignitas. Apollo drops. 3 kills picked up so far. Rush locked up as well. Impact can only run alongside Xiao. Dignitas go 3-0 and get Dragon.
The lack of the front line crushes Team Impulse right there. All the squishy targets in a small little ball. The aggression of Team Dignitas flashing in from Shifter, teleporting in from Hecarim, create a picturesque team fight for them. The flank comes in, they crush the squishies, and now they can take Baron.
Well, props to Team Dignitas for the pre-placed wards to get the Hecarim flank on, and Team Impulse just unable to do anything for this. Impact's going to TP back to mid lane to try to pressure the Baron attempt here. Damage is coming through, but Dignitas have multiple tanks. That's not really very scary.
Yeah, the poke from Avaris can be pretty substantial if Impact wants to flash in. This is getting a little dicey.
Gamsu's very low. Varus going to have his Q back in a second. Impact goes in. Oh, he's not going to get the smite, but he will look for Core JJ. The kill's not going to happen just yet. Healer's doing plenty of damage back to him, forcing the flash away. Impact guesses the wrong direction.
Oh, no one wants to walk close because they're afraid of getting one-shot by Shifter.
Well, speaking of getting one-shot, Xiao takes him out from 30%, and Impact is on the chase. I feel like he's fast enough thanks to the Talisman of Ascension from the Janna. Q comes out. That will be the kill picked up. And Impact gets the kill. So again, Impulse getting some kills on the backside. Get a little bit of control for themselves.
We still got ourselves a wacky game right here. It looks like the team fight, if initiated properly, like we thought, Team Dignitas picked off a priority target in that last Dragon team fight, and it snowballed into an objective. But typical Team Impulse style, they're able to make something back out of it when they collapse down onto the Baron pit. Mainly Xiao and Impact poking down. So, watching the Dragon fight once again. Flashing straight into the stun, into the Hecarim ultimate, into the Alistar combo. What else knocked them up there? No, everything basically just landed perfectly for Team Dignitas in that fight, killing 3 members perfectly.
Yep, TF Hecarim, Alistar, plenty of CC.
Yeah, and it's a lack of zone control for Team Impulse right now. It comes with the team composition, no actual front line. But I don't even know if the front line would matter when you're teleporting next to someone and then also Hecarim ulting in.
Yeah.
So it really is just on Team Impulse to spread and allow Janet to try and pull off that peel. Grouping up like that is pretty much the worst thing they can do because they allowed Team Dignitas to combo all their CC. Finally, a side lane pick.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the split push opportunity. Good job.
Yeah, Shifter showed up to the top lane. The wrong person was defending against Hecarim. AD carry should know you can never 1v1 a top laner. They're always too big for you, and they can ignore your turrets. Apollo, unfortunately, the one forced to defend that, dies for it. Top lane tier 2 goes down. Dignitas about to tie up the turret scores. They're now 4-5, and they've still got map control and a 2,000 gold lead.
And they still have Baron, too.
Yeah. 2
people died, but the people that were alive were able to give the Baron empowering minions right now. Team Dignitas has played some really solid team fights.
Absolutely agreed.
And Team Impulse have definitely not. Again, a desynced initiation there. Xiao trying to create the initiation opportunity. One of the only ways Team Impulse can start fights, and it's now gone for another 80 seconds.
Yeah, it feels like there's just no options left for Impulse. I think because Gamsu is still 6-0-8, 100% kill participation. It started out with like, okay, look, it's a bunch of physical damage dealers and impact to keep you honest. If they set up around Dragon, well, TP flanks can exist. If they set up around a turret, TP flanks can exist. They needed impact to keep Gamsu honest, to keep him from getting these easy flanks, to keep him off the lineup.
Yeah.
And that's just simply not happened with how far ahead Gamsu has gotten off the really good, 12-minute in team fight where it went 2-0-1.
Yeah. I mean, this is the resiliency of Team Dignitas. They were down 2,000 or 3,000 gold in the early game. They even lose fights here and there, but they understand the way they have to fight to win this game. They know that Team Impulse has a lot of damage, so they're shutting down the damage immediately. They're knowing how to cut through Team Impulse's peel in team fights, and it's something that North American teams have failed to do frequently this year, especially with Hecarim. Before an objective fight, put your Hecarim in base. Because he's going to teleport in and create a large impact, and Team Dignitas has found the timings to do that this match, and they're comboing it with Twisted Fate, who now, by the way, with Death Cap, can basically take Apollo or Xiao out of the game.
So ironic indeed, Dignitas have more impact than Team Impulse here. Gamsu showing up well in the top lane, and everything in place here. Thing is, it is a 2,000 gold lead only. As much as we're talking about how Dignitas is playing this game properly and all the things in the right place for them, comebacks can of course always happen, just doesn't seem to be going this way. The momentum certainly Dignitas' favor. Bot lane being split pushed by the Hecarim, the rest of the team milling around the jungle in the mid lane, looking for maybe turret number 5. It'll be in the mid or bot lane if that happens.
And really, the flank potential is very real. And so much of it just has to do with the burst damage that comes in from Gamsu and Shifter. That's able to delete.
And they're always able to reach.
Yep, and they're always able to reach either Apollo or Xiao. Looks like Team Dignitas is just waiting on Dragon number 3, maybe even the next Baron after that one.
Yeah.
Because it still is a very close game, and diving in has to be done with tremendous precision if it is to be successful.
Right. Keep in mind, Impulse have really good wave clear through Echo, Varus, Graves, and even Janet can shield the turret and do stuff. So the siege is not a core strength of Dignitas. If they get some free time on a turret, they go down fast, but Impulse have largely been rotating well. They're showing up to the objectives, they just don't win the fights at them.
Yeah. Very true. A little bit out of sync for Team Impulse, but Team Dignitas specializing on punishing people who are a little bit out of sync. Resulted in 14 nice kills. And this time, Dragon is not going to be contested.
Right. Dragon number 3 going to go over to Team Dignitas. They are taking it slow and methodical. Seems very standard for this lineup here. Helios joins. It's much less about the early game pressure and much more about how they're able to strategically play the game. And honestly, has done a pretty good job of playing these games smartly.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think. after Team Dignitas was in relegation's last split, if they can pull out this victory, they move themselves to 5-2 with wins over Cloud9, TSM, and would-be Impulse as well. So it would be almost a complete turnaround for a team that felt very hapless at times during the spring split.
It was the only NA team to survive relegations. Winterfox and Coast both went down.
True.
This is the only team that got the second chance to stay in the LCS, and they're making really good on that so far. Gamsu to keep the ward control up. Of course, Baron's up in 35 seconds, so top lane, or top side jungle, the place you want Vision. Impulse with some defensive pinks doing what they can to clear that Vision away, but the red team can't take any fights. They're just...
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Team Impulse kind of needed to snowball this game because they have a bunch of squishy damage dealers, their ability to check when they lose vision control is low, and their actual ability to smartly start a team fight is incredibly limited. They need Impact to get a great flank or Xiao Xiao to hit a beautiful chain of corruption, which himself would be putting himself in threat range. Not to mention, they have almost no way of checking this Baron safely outside of a scrying orb, and Team Dignitas has all the tools to create a fight if Team Impulse pushes too far. They're daring Impact to teleport in and hoping for a fight. Team Dignitas, an aggressive Baron call.
Well, Impact's gonna go for the teleport, but it'll come in after the Baron already dies. Oh! Rush gets to steal with Flash! Here comes the fight! Maybe this is the battle that Impulse needed! One kill traded back and forth. Rek'Sai is dead, so is Xin Zhao. Core JJ forced run away. Kiwi Kid very squishy, and they will drop down Impact. Apollo in the pit has to flash back away. Impulse running out, losing one kill, but getting Baron.
We're on our way to a really long game because Team Dignitas' opportunity to gain an edge was foiled there when Rush flashed in to steal the Baron. You could see the idea of Team Dignitas. All we're going to do is headbutt the Rek'Sai out when he tries to tunnel in. Kiwi Kid had the right idea, but then he has another way in. Rush has his flash. He lands the 50-50 smite. There's no Kalista or Nunu for smiting on this team. Nice headbutt out, but then he just flashed right back in to get it. Huge gold bonus for Team Impulse, and it also created a poor flanking opportunity for Team Dignitas in this team fight. When Team Dignitas has won these fights, it's because they are TF ulting in on a priority target and allowing Hecarim to ult in on a group. This time Gamsu ults in on one person, Shifter is not able to teleport into a priority target, and Team Impulse walks away with the Baron. All things that are going to extend this match, Freak.
Yeah, you can see just how strong double marksman can be when they're not contested by a Hecarim who's busy hitting a sort of tanky-ish top laner here. And that's the kind of situation Impulse needs, is can they distract Gamsu? Can they survive against Shifter? You've got a Quicksilver Sash on the Graves. You've got a Mikhail's Crucible, on Janna. So, like, getting away from TF is certainly possible. Even the Aegis is here as well, so Magic is coming in to survive Twisted Fate.
Yeah.
It is, I think Gamsu has to be involved as well. You need the two-man dive for a backliner to die here, so if Dignitas cannot get that coordinated push, it's just not going to happen. And with Baron buff, Impulse can feel pretty safe. Gamsu's TPing though.
No home guard this time, but still a flank.
Oh, they bought just enough time to stop Kiwi Kid. Xiao, the instant cleanse, out he goes. Kiwi Kid locks up Apollo, in comes Hecarim, and he's trying to survive, and Graves will get shut down by Helios. Impact still in the mix, but has to run away. A 1-for-0 in Dignitas' favor.
You can see how desperate Team Impulse is to disengage this, and they did it about as well as they could, but Team Dignitas still walk away with the kill. Man, that's a dangerous looking dive there for Team Dignitas, also not having the Baron to follow up, so even though it was an impressive show of cooldowns right there, that's pretty much all it is. It just puts their spells on cooldown and they get a slight death timer onto Apollo. Nothing can be done objective-wise after that fight.
No, you just get rid of one of the Baron buffs, but it's one of the multiple that are here for Team Impulse either way. Only 20 seconds left on the buff regardless, so that won't even be in for the Dragon that respawns in a minute and a half. You can see now both these teams are able to win fights. It just depends on the situation these fights are in.
Yeah.
Dignitas stuck in a Baron pit, okay, Impulse can do well. Impulse sits themselves in a group, easy flank for Dig.
Yeah, and aside from that Baron steal, it's actually been Team Dignitas winning the fights again and again and again. And again, low cooldown on that Twisted Fate ult. This time, they're going to get at least one.
And Adrian is immediately dropped down. Gamsu is legendary still. 100% kill participation, 0 deaths on this Hecarim. Gamsu really showing up.
You just can't be split up like that against this team. Shifter will punish you again and again with Twisted Fate. Gamsu will combo, and now they get to chunk down these turrets. Janna is gone. Let's see if they can do any work here. Without Baron minions, it's going to be hard to get a minion wave into a turret. They do have Alistair, though, for a potential dive. Whoa!
They've also got Gamsu and Xiaowei. Xiao goes down. Apollo's trying to run, but he can't run fast enough. We've got Impact around. Dignitas are inside the base, but they're going to kill off Rush. It's 4 dead members of TIP, and what else can they even do right now? Kiwi can happily take it the turret, going in for the inhibitor as well. What a good fight for Dignitas.
Full applause deserved for Team Dignitas right there. They took the game into their own hands to end it this time. Beautiful tanking by Kiwi Kid. Split-second decision-making after the pick to go for the game, and they get it.
And here we go, 5-2 Team Dignitas right now in sole control of third place. Gamsu, the easy MVP of this game, 11-0-10 on Hecarim, crushing the massive backline of Team Impulse.
Yeah.
What a good game for Dignitas fans.
Just brilliant execution in the majority of the Team Dignitas fights right there. Twisted Fate, Hecarim, and the Xin Zhao coming in from Helios. So much CC could be layered on. Very strong tank lines, and also the precision to take out the damage dealers so that the tanks can then sit in the fight. That is a feel-good win for Team Dignitas because their previous road to 4-2 had been pretty sloppy games. Teams making many mistakes against them. And while this game wasn't flawless, it's a marked improvement for Team Dignitas. The execution they showed in these team fights was impressive, and it's starting to reflect that of a top-tier North American team.
Yeah, I actually want to call back to their win over Team Solo Mid last week in Saturday, because the discussion was, did Team Dignitas get lucky? Right? Do they deserve to contend with all these teams? You know, they were losing their early lanes. They were generally just slowly losing the game, but a couple of really good points took the win over Team Solo Mid, and we said maybe.
Who just got the Team Impulse sweater? Right
JJ got
JJ trading jackets.
They were talking about it actually in the pregame chat. I forget who all was talking, but there's multiple actually.
Yeah,
he's got one too. Yeah, but I want to talk about
Xiao's jacket.
Well, you deserve it. You win, you get the jacket. It's how Pawn and Dada did it, right? So
yeah,
more champion jackets here. Xiao
didn't even get a Dignitas one.
No, did he deserve it?
What a raw deal.
So Dignitas. Resilience seems to be the name of the game for these guys. Multiple times we're seeing them lose early game. I'd actually be curious to see the statistics on how many games do they have even leads at all 10 minutes into the game. For a 5-2 team to probably be losing most games at 10 minutes shows you how good they are understanding the way the game is played, picking very smart fights, capitalizing on misplays incredibly well.
Yeah,
right? You're not supposed to be here, we'll kill you.
That's going to be the turning point for Team Dignitas, because one thing that seems to be approaching there through the coaching and through their team fighting is that they're able to execute that better and better, but they need to be able to find a consistent way of getting ahead so that they can execute these later game plans that they are improving at. 5-2 now for Team Dignitas. Didn't think I'd say that after relegation tournament.
It's true, but props to Dignitas all the same for some great play in the summer split. For now, we're going to send it down to our guys on the analyst desk.
Thank you, Freak. Now, before we break down Dig's win, we want to tell you all to stick around because we've got Riv setting up to talk with Doublelift a little bit later. But now jumping into this victory, the first thing I want to touch on is the Xin Zhao pick. Just because it did not seem to work out entirely in the early game, which is why you would normally take that champion.
Are you directing it at me?
I'm directing it at both of you, at the analysts, on the analyst desk.
So I don't think that's a problem with the champion, because Helios, we talked a lot about Helios, the early ganks, and he's only had 2 games in. This is why I don't like, stats for, defining the play style of a certain player in the game. Helios, this time around, he tries to go for a lot of early ganks, and it's not the champion's fault that the ganks don't work out there. The timing windows that he looks for with those ganks just were not there. So he got really behind. Rush got ahead in farm because of it. But yeah, I don't think that was due to the champion. Speaking of the pick bans overall, I think Dignitas had a really good pick and ban phase this time around. And I actually really questioned Team Impulse last lock-in of Varus when you're already facing an Alistar, Hecarim, and Twisted Fate on the board. You lock in a double AD without a dash there. That's just really scary because you know Shifter's already going to build an early Zanyas and look for these TF plays to initiate.
Yeah, and they paid for it too. The backline initiation there and the execution from Dignitas was on point. We had to talk about Gamsu because 11, 0, and 10, 100% kill participation as a top laner. Next closest person only participated in 14 out of the 21 kills. He was all over the map and he was just crushing everybody that was in his sights. So Gamsu immediately was like, oh, you lock these champions in? Yeah, I'm going to go running at your backline every single time, crushing them. And the fact they had that backline access and a backup strategy too. Like this team composition is really good at split pushing as well. So even if Dignitas, and they didn't even have to go to that strategy at all. They went like one time to a split push strategy. Otherwise they were fighting and getting to the backline. So I like Dignitas that goes like that, and we have multiple strategies. If one doesn't work out, that's fine. We have options, and as soon as one starts working, they can play to their strengths and the other team's weakness, which is picking a whole bunch of fights that they can't win.
Yeah, and they did take a little bit of time to ramp up into this game. We saw essentially a CS differential in favor of Impulse across all 3 lanes leading up to that 10-minute mark, and it wasn't until Dignitas was able to find a few picks and capitalize on them that they were able to pull themselves back into contention for the gold lead.
Yeah. Team Impulse, they had really good individual play, but again, the drafting and the team play from Team Dignitas is what got them.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a much better example of the whole 5 fingers make a fist in a unit in a very long time in this Dignitas squad. I know.
All right, well, I do want to jump into our replay. We're going to go 18 minutes into the game. This is sort of a long one because it starts off in Tip's favor, but we have an LCS big play tweet that we're going to pull up. At DClaude writes, Gamsu, I'm going to hecker him. Tons of damage. And essentially, wonderful usage of that Hecarim, the kill participation, as you mentioned, from Gamsu, coming in with the home guards on the tail end of a 1 fight for Impulse, kind of swaying things for them.
All right, so let's start this one off. Roll the clip here, and we'll see the beginning of this is, sort of classic Team Impulse here. They're trying to disengage, and they use the Gen Ultimate and Xiao Wei Xiao's Chain of Corruption, and they actually get it off. And they got a lot of damage onto Helios here. And so here's the highlight for Impulse. So their ability to chase people down, kill people in these, spread out team fights. Now though, they're overextended. And this is the beauty of the team that Dignitas drafted. They've got the long range teleports here coming in from both Twisted Fate and Hecarim. And they're looking at specifically punishing Impulse's over-aggressive move here, trying to get the objective after one of their spread-out team fights where they sort of just brawl you off of the map. And it's just the perfect, this is the quintessential, basically, way that this team will get a victory with the double teleports. I mean, you lock in your double AD with your mid laner with no dash into this team. You got to be really prepared for those types of plays, because if you do not hit perfect Chain of Corruption and Janna Ultimate, then that team is going to engage on you. They also got the first pick, Alistar, the Kiwi kid, was great all game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the league with this Dignitas in it, because they have the best punish game out of all teams at the moment. We've seen if you make one mistake, they're the whole, we're going to take your whole arm if you give us a finger.
Well, we'll continue to look to see if they can improve their early game so that they don't have to make those huge punish plays to get back into it. Now, a lot of people have been following the story of Double's basketball injury this week on Twitter. Here we see the team taking time away from their practice schedule to recreate the scene of the crime. I don't know why you would ever grab a chain net. That just doesn't sound like the smartest idea, but we've got Riv standing by with Double Stitch to get the straight story.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Double Lift, who somewhat on the bench for the hand, but pulled himself off, wants to still play, and he's going to play. The team's going to let him, obviously. I got one question for you, man, to start off. Obviously, on everybody's mind, what the hell?
Well, we're playing basketball because we have a small basketball court at our house, at our compound, and I think I went to stuff Darshan, and I grabbed the net, and it was rusty metal, so then I put 160 pounds on my pinky, and then I looked down for a sec. It didn't really hurt at all. And I looked down, and my pinky was looking wrong. So Matt and Chris took me to the hospital, and they spent 3 hours with me while I got 12 stitches. It's a fun time.
So is this kind of the first experience where you've ever kind of hurt your hand, the thing you need to kind of play most professionally?
Yeah, this is actually my first real injury ever. Never broken a bone, never had to get stitches or sprained or fractured anything. Right. And I expected it, honestly, to be a lot more painful. You'd think if you almost cut your finger in half, it would hurt a lot, but it doesn't really hurt.
All right, so I got to ask, not that it hurts, you said it does not hurt. Have you changed up your key bindings? You've been playing how many, 5 plus 6, 7 years in the same keys. Did you have to switch things up?
Yeah, I've been playing with the same binds for 5 years basically, and playing with 9 fingers kind of sucks because I have to change around like a lot of my key binds to make it so I can essentially, because my thumb doesn't really help, I have to play with 3 fingers now. It's kind of annoying, but I got to practice for like a full day with it after I recovered, and it should be fun. I played like the best role. AD carry is not very keybind intensive role, so I can manage.
So you think the auto spacing is going to be just fine?
Oh, I hate you, Riv. I hate you so much.
Coming up, you guys got TDK. How are you feeling about this matchup? And really, if you could say anything to the team without having all the players that they need, what should they look for right now in trying to better themselves?
Well, I have a handicap now, so game might be more even because they'll need it.
All right, you went down a different path there, but to each his own. One more question for you. The team is 5-1, like I said before. Everything's looking right. Do you feel like this could actually potentially hurt the team's chances to keep doing well?
No, not even close. Actually, this really, it's so weird because my keybinds have stayed the same for so long. I actually realized like they're not optimal, and it made me, after a few more days of doing this, like my finger's gonna be fine. Like I'll be able to play with all 10 fingers in a week or maybe even less than that. And it'll just make more optimal. And also, I think we're a lot closer after this too, because it showed me that my team is really important to me, and like they'll really care. When I came home, they were all really worried and asking me if I'm okay, and just really supportive. So I don't know. This is like just the best CLG that I've been on, and I don't think anything's gonna change. I just need a couple days to heal up, and we're gonna be good to go.
All right, man. Sounds great. I'm sure the fans are happy to hear that. Be sure to stick with us. We do have Team Dragon Knights versus Counter Logic Gaming coming up in just 3.5.
Week 4 of the North American LCS with Team Dignitas sitting at 4-2.
They want to dive.
As the ulti on Alistair goes for impact. Big stun's gonna land. Nice! Who's gonna go for it? Goes in.
Whoa.
Impact gets a shield. In comes Shifter. The Rocket gets 1. Gamsu gets a 2nd. He gets a 3rd. On the flank, TF's there as well. They're gonna look right for impact. The flash in. Adrian's gonna get huge up and destroyed. Echo. The Baron already dies. Oh! Rush can still deal with Flash. Here comes the fight. Maybe this is the battle that Impulse needed. Whoa! They've also got Gamsu and Xiaowei. Xiao goes down. Apollo's trying to run, but he can't run fast enough. Team Dignitas right now in sole control of 3rd place.